In 2003, Nick Bostrom, a philosopher at the University of Oxford, published a paper that would ignite a firestorm of debate across disciplines. The paper, titled "Are You Living in a Computer Simulation?", posited a question that has been the stuff of science fiction for decades. Could our reality be a computer-generated simulation? Bostrom's simulation hypothesis has since been dissected, critiqued, and celebrated, but it remains an intellectual landmark that challenges our understanding of reality itself. Bostrom's simulation hypothesis is built on a trilemma, suggesting that one of the following propositions must be true. 1. Almost all civilizations at our level of technological development go extinct before they reach the capability of creating a post-human civilization capable of running ancestor simulations. 2. If civilizations do reach the post-human stage, they're not interested in running ancestor simulations. 3. We are almost certainly living in a computer simulation. The argument is a logical exercise that uses probability theory to examine the likelihood of our existence in a simulated universe. If we assume that it's possible for a civilization to reach a post-human stage and create ancestor simulations of their evolutionary history or variations thereof, then the number of simulated realities would vastly outnumber the one base reality. Ancestor simulations serve as a cornerstone in Nick Bostrom's simulation hypothesis, providing a conceptual framework that goes beyond mere speculation about alternate realities. These are not just any simulations, they are incredibly detailed recreations of a civilization's past, designed to be indistinguishable from a quote-unquote real universe. Within these simulations, conscious beings would live out lives filled with experiences, emotions, and choices, much like we do in our own reality. The term ancestor simulations might imply a focus on the past, but the concept is far more expansive. These simulations could be designed to explore various what-if scenarios, alternative histories, or even entirely different sets of physical laws. They could serve multiple purposes: scientific research, entertainment, or even as a form of digital resurrection for deceased individuals. The possibilities are as limitless as the imagination of their creators. The computational power needed to run an ancestor simulation is difficult to fathom. Every aspect of the natural world, from the motion of galaxies to the interaction of subatomic particles, would need to be simulated with extraordinary precision. Conscious beings within the simulation would require even more computational complexity, as their brains and sensory organs would need to be modeled in intricate detail to allow for genuine experiences. However, Bostrom argues that for post-human civilization, one that has moved beyond our current biological and technological limitations, such computational feats may be within reach. Advances in quantum computing, parallel processing, and other yet-to-be-invented technologies could potentially make ancestor simulations feasible. The concept of ancestor simulations also raises a host of ethical and philosophical questions. If the beings within these simulations are conscious, they would presumably have moral and ethical rights. Would it be ethical to create a simulated universe filled with suffering? What responsibilities would the creator have towards the inhabitants of these simulated worlds? While Bostrom's simulation hypothesis may seem like a product of our technologically advanced age, the idea that reality might be an illusion or a construct is far from new. Philosophers and thinkers from various cultures and eras have pondered similar questions. The butterfly dream is a famous Taoist story attributed to Zhuangzi, an ancient Chinese philosopher and foundational figure in Taoism. The story is a brief but profound meditation on the nature of reality, consciousness, and identity, and it's been interpreted in various ways over the centuries. In the tale, Zhuangzi describes a vivid dream in which he becomes a butterfly. In this dream state, he flits about, enjoying the simple pleasures of a butterfly's life, sipping nectar from flowers, feeling the wind beneath his wings, and experiencing the world from a wholly different perspective. Importantly, in the dream, he has no awareness of his human life. He is fully immersed in being a butterfly. Upon waking, Zhuangzi finds himself disoriented. He is now a man lying in his bed. But the experience of being a butterfly felt just as real as his human existence. This leads him to a philosophical quandary. Was he a man who dreamt he was a butterfly, or is he now a butterfly dreaming that he is a man? This simple yet profound narrative raises several questions that resonate with modern discussions about the nature of reality, including those posed by the simulation hypothesis. Firstly, the story questions the nature of reality itself. If both states of existence felt equally real to Zhuangzi, what does that say about the nature of reality? Is reality fixed and objective, or is it malleable and subjective, shaped by our perceptions and experiences? The tale also delves into the nature of consciousness and experience. In his dream, Zhuangzi's butterfly existence was complete with its own set of experiences and emotions. This challenges our understanding of consciousness as being tied to our physical form. If consciousness can exist in different forms, as the story suggests, it opens up possibilities for multiple realities, much like the multiple simulations posited by Bostrom. Zhuangzi's butterfly dream serves as an early exploration of themes that are central to the simulation hypothesis. It asks us to consider the possibility that our current reality might be one of many, and that what we perceive as real could be subject to change or interpretation. Just as Zhuangzi pondered whether he was a man dreaming of a butterfly or a butterfly dreaming of a man, the simulation hypothesis asks us to consider whether we are beings in a base reality or simulated identities in a constructed world. By revisiting this ancient tale, we are reminded that the questions posed by the simulation hypothesis are not new. They are as old as philosophical inquiry itself. What is new is the context, our rapidly advancing technological capabilities, that gives these age-old questions a renewed sense of urgency and relevance. One of the most enduring contributions to philosophical thought on the nature of reality comes from ancient Greece, particularly from the philosopher Plato. His allegory of the cave, found in Book 7 of The Republic, serves as a compelling metaphor for understanding the limitations of human perception and the transformative power of knowledge. In Plato's allegory, prisoners have been confined in a dark cave since birth, chained in such a way that they can only see the wall in front of them. Behind them is a fire, and between the fire and the prisoners is a raised walkway where objects are moved, casting shadows on the wall. The prisoners take these shadows to be the only reality, as they have never seen the outside world or even turned their heads. One day, a prisoner is freed and is initially blinded by the light as he emerges from the cave. Slowly, his eyes adjust and he begins to perceive the world in all its complexity and color, realizing that what he thought was reality was merely a shadow of the truth. When he returns to the cave to free the others, they ridicule him, unable to believe that there could be a reality beyond the cave's walls. The allegory of the cave resonates strongly with themes in the simulation hypothesis. The prisoners in the cave are much like humans who might be living in a simulated reality, unaware of the higher reality that exists outside their perceived world. The shadows on the wall can be likened to the pixels and data that make up our digital universe, a mere representation of something more real. The freed prisoner's enlightenment upon seeing the outside world parallels the theoretical revelation that would occur if we were to discover that we are indeed living in a simulation. Just as the prisoner realizes the limitation of his previous understanding, so too would humanity need to grapple with a new understanding of existence if the simulation hypothesis were proven true. Plato's allegory also raises ethical questions that are relevant to the simulation hypothesis. If we are living in a simulation, do we have an ethical responsibility to understand our reality and possibly free ourselves or others? Similarly, the ridicule faced by the freed prisoner upon his return to the cave echoes the skepticism often faced by those who propose radical ideas about the nature of reality, including proponents of the simulation hypothesis. Plato's allegory of the cave serves as a timeless inquiry into the nature of reality, knowledge, and human existence. It reminds us that the questions we're asking today about the nature of reality, spurred by technological advancements and theories like the simulation hypothesis, are part of a long philosophical tradition. These questions challenge us to go beyond our immediate perceptions and consider the possibility that our understanding of reality is both limited and malleable. René Descartes, the 17th century French philosopher, mathematician, and scientist, is often credited with laying the foundations for modern Western philosophy. One of his most significant contributions is the method of doubt, a form of skepticism that rigorously questions the nature of reality. This method is most famously encapsulated in his thought experiment involving an evil demon, a concept that has intriguing parallels with the simulation hypothesis. Descartes initiated his philosophical inquiries with a radical form of skepticism, systematically doubting everything he believed to know. He questioned the reliability of sensory perceptions, the existence of the external world, and even the fundamental principles of mathematics. Descartes posited that an evil demon could be deceiving him into believing that all these things are real when they are not. This demon could manipulate his senses, thoughts, and memories, creating an illusion of reality. The purpose of this thought experiment was to establish a foundation of knowledge that was absolutely certain. Descartes eventually concluded that one thing he could not doubt was the act of doubt itself, leading to his famous dictum, cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. Descartes' evil demon can be seen as a precursor to the idea of a simulated reality. In both scenarios, the world as we know it is potentially the result of some form of manipulation or construction. While Descartes' demon deceives the mind into believing in a false reality, the architects of a simulated universe would construct a digital environment that serves as the only reality its inhabitants know. Just as Descartes used his method of doubt to question the foundations of his reality, proponents of the simulation hypothesis ask us to question the fabric of our universe. Could it be a construct designed by some advanced civilization or even by a future version of humanity? Descartes' skepticism also raises ethical and existential questions that resonate with the simulation hypothesis. If we are living in a simulated or manipulated reality, what ethical obligations do we have to understand our situation and to act upon that knowledge? Is escaping from the simulation even desirable or ethical? These questions echo Descartes' own ethical concerns following his method of doubt, as he pondered the implications of a reality that could be fundamentally deceptive. Descartes' method of doubt has left an indelible mark on philosophy, influencing a wide range of fields from epistemology to existentialism. His skepticism laid the groundwork for later philosophical inquiries into the nature of reality, including the simulation hypothesis. It serves as a reminder that the questions we're grappling with today are part of a long intellectual tradition that challenges us to question the very foundations of our existence. Following the intellectual tradition of skepticism, as exemplified by Descartes, the simulation hypothesis has been subject to a variety of criticisms that question its feasibility, ethical implications, and scientific validity. These criticisms serve as important counterpoints, challenging us to scrutinize the hypothesis from multiple angles. One of the most immediate criticisms of the simulation hypothesis is the sheer computational power that would be required to simulate a universe, especially down to the quantum level. The complexity of physical laws, the vastness of the universe, and the intricacies of consciousness all present monumental challenges for any simulation. Even if a post-human civilization were to reach a level of technological advancement where such a simulation becomes conceivable, the energy requirements could be astronomical. This echoes Descartes' method of doubt, as it raises questions about the practical limitations of our understanding of reality. Just as Descartes questioned the foundations of his knowledge, the computational limits challenge the feasibility of the simulation hypothesis, urging us to consider whether it's a theoretical possibility or a practical improbability. Another line of criticism focuses on the ethical dimensions of running ancestor simulations. If the beings within these simulations possess consciousness, then creating, altering, or terminating such simulations could be fraught with moral implications. This resonates with Descartes' ethical concern following his method of doubt. If our reality is deceptive or constructed, what ethical responsibilities do we have to understand, modify, or even escape it? The ethical concerns extend to the creators of the simulation as well. Would it be morally reprehensible for a post-human civilization to create a simulated reality filled with conscious beings capable of suffering? These questions add a layer of ethical complexity to the simulation hypothesis, challenging us to consider not just how, but also the should of simulated realities. From a scientific standpoint, the simulation hypothesis faces criticism for being unfalsifiable. This is a key issue in the philosophy of science, as any hypothesis or theory should, in principle, be testable and disprovable. The simulation hypothesis runs into a wall here. If we are in a simulation, then any evidence we might gather could also be simulated, rendering empirical verification or falsification virtually impossible. This criticism aligns with the Cartesian skepticism that questions the reliability of our senses and the nature of reality. Just as Descartes pondered the possibility of an evil demon deceiving him, proponents of the simulation hypothesis must grapple with the idea that empirical evidence could be fundamentally unreliable if we are in a simulated reality. The criticisms of the simulation hypothesis serve as modern echoes of Cartesian skepticism, urging us to question the feasibility, ethics, and empirical validity of the idea that we might be living in a simulated reality. These criticisms don't necessarily negate the hypothesis, but rather enrich the discourse around it, providing a multifaceted examination that aligns with the long-standing philosophical tradition of questioning the nature of our existence and reality. As we grapple with the criticisms and ethical quandaries surrounding the simulation hypothesis, it's worth noting that these questions don't exist in a vacuum. They're part of a broader discourse on the future of humanity and the ethical and philosophical implications of advancing technology. This leads us to another concept that shares thematic resonance with the simulation hypothesis: the idea of mind uploading. Like the simulation hypothesis, mind uploading challenges our traditional notions of reality, consciousness, and ethics, offering a complementary lens through which to explore these complex issues. The concept of mind uploading, also known as whole brain emulation or substrate-independent minds, is a fascinating area where the realms of advanced computing, neuroscience, and philosophy intersect. It posits the tantalizing possibility that human consciousness could be transferred from a biological substrate to a digital one. This would allow for a form of digital immortality where the uploaded individual could continue to exist, interact, and even evolve within a simulated environment. The concept is particularly relevant to the simulation hypothesis for several reasons, each of which merits a deeper exploration. One of the most compelling aspects of mind uploading in the context of the simulation hypothesis is the notion of existential continuity. If it becomes possible to upload human minds into a digital realm, then the beings existing within a simulation could themselves be uploads from a base reality. This lends more credence to the idea that simulated beings could possess genuine consciousness, awareness, and a sense of self. In a simulated world populated by uploaded minds, the line between real and simulated becomes increasingly blurred. If an uploaded mind retains all the memories, emotions, and thought processes of its biological original, then it could be argued that the individual's self has merely transitioned from one form of existence to another. This raises profound questions about the nature of identity and existence, echoing the philosophical inquiries that date back to the musings of Zhuangzi and Plato. The ethical dimensions of mind uploading are complex and multifaceted, mirroring the ethical concerns relating to running ancestor simulations. If an uploaded mind is conscious, does it have the same rights as a biological entity? What are the moral implications of modifying, duplicating, or even deleting an uploaded mind? These questions become especially pertinent if we consider that future civilizations might run simulations populated by uploaded minds to study historical events or explore various what-if scenarios. The ethical considerations extend beyond the uploaded individuals to society at large. For instance, if only a privileged few have access to mind uploading, it could exacerbate existing social inequalities. Furthermore, the potential for misuse of this technology, such as creating digital slaves or running sadistic experiments, adds another layer of ethical complexity. The technological challenges of mind uploading are monumental, but as with the simulation hypothesis, not necessarily insurmountable for a post-human civilization. Accurate brain emulation would require an incredibly detailed understanding of the human brain, down to the level of individual neurons and perhaps even smaller scales. It would also require computational resources far beyond what is currently available, potentially involving quantum computing or other yet-to-be-invented technologies. However, if a civilization reaches the post-human stage, it's conceivable that they would have the technological prowess to overcome these challenges. Such a civilization would likely have solved many of the problems that currently stymie our progress in neuroscience and computing, from the ethical concerns of brain research to the physical limitations of current computer architectures. The simulation hypothesis, while framed in the language of modern computing and technology, taps into a lineage of philosophical inquiry that stretches back millennia. From Zhuangzi's dream to Plato's cave, from Descartes' demon to Bostrom's post-human civilization, the question of what constitutes reality has been a persistent theme in human thought. What sets Bostrom's hypothesis apart is the application of probability theory and technological feasibility, transforming a philosophical question into a scientific proposition. Yet, the core inquiry remains the same. What is the nature of the world we inhabit, and how can we be certain of it? As we continue to grapple with advancements in artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and computational power, the simulation hypothesis serves as both a modern scientific proposition and a continuation of ancient philosophical wonderings. It reminds us that the questions we ask about the nature of reality are not just reflections of our technological capabilities, but also part of a long tradition of human curiosity and philosophical inquiry. In the grand tapestry of ideas that explore the future of humanity and the nature of reality, both the simulation hypothesis and the concept of mind uploading serve as critical threads. They challenge us to look beyond our immediate experiences, to question the very fabric of our existence, and to prepare for a future that may be as fantastic as it is uncertain.